Hello students, how are you all? So today we are again back with chapter 5 of History NCERT Class 6. Welcome to Alchemy IAS YouTube channel, and now we will talk about this chapter. The name is Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. So see, nowadays what is the discussion, right? How India is being represented. So India is a republic now also, and we have a history of being a republic, India, right? So India was a republic in history also, right? How? Today we will get to know. So there were Mahajanpadas, right? Whose nature differed. So what were Mahajanpadas, what are Janpadas, we all will get to know today with this starting of the chapter. Right. So republic means what? Republic is the head is elected by the public, right? So this is the meaning of republic. We will get to know about the history kingdoms, the kingdoms that were in history after the Rig Vedic age. So it is later Vedic age. This period is later Vedic age, right? Okay. One second. This is later Vedic age. Okay. So later Vedic age and their kingdoms, their kings and an early republic. Am I audible to everyone? So later Vedic age, we'll see the nature and characteristic of the kingdoms, the kings, their role, their functions, and which is an early republic in Indian history, and why India is called the mother of democracy also, right? So now, how some men became ruler. The discussion is about this paragraph. See, how some men became rulers. So because there was no kingdom, right? In Rig Vedic times, what was happening? There was this tribe system. People were in tribes, right? So there was a tribe, there was a leader, there was a Raja who used to protect the tribe, right? So Raja, he had limitations, right? Limited rights he had, yes or no? And then he was only fighting for what? In last chapter we covered this thing, right? So Raja was fighting for land, people and the cattle, the pastures, right? So land for what? Not for political boundaries, right? Not to conquer the areas, but land for their pastures. And this was the primary duty of the Raja. So what people did? They were performing what? They were supporting the king by voluntarily offering the taxes, right? Gifts to the king, tribute to the king. Now the nature has completely changed. You will see many different changes in the later Vedic age, right? Later Vedic age. Now, how some men became rulers. These people, how they were becoming rulers. So choosing leader. There were assemblies also during Rig Vedic period, yes or no? So in that assembly, many important decisions used to be discussed, right? So choosing leaders or rulers by voting is something that has become common, right? It is now very common, but earlier it was not the scene, yes, during the last 50 years or so. So we know that choosing leaders was very common. Choosing leader is very common nowadays, but it was not so before. How did men become rulers in the past, right? How did they were becoming rulers and what happened? So 3000 years ago, we are studying about what? 3000 years ago, some men became recognized as Rajas by performing big sacrifices. So there was this process by which kings, they were being recognized as Rajas by performing big sacrifices. There were many sacrifices, and there was this one of the important sacrifices, Ashwamedh, right, or horse sacrifice. So this was the process has been defined here. A horse was let loose to wander freely, right? So how it started? A horse was let loose, and if any king would come in the way of the horse, if any Raja would stop the horse, then he has to fight with the Raja, right? And if any king is not stopping the horse, right? So it means, what is the meaning? It means that the area has been conquered by the Raja, right? They are accepting the suzerainty of the Raja. who is performing this Ashwamedh sacrifice. Okay. Now, if they allowed the horse to pass, it meant that they accepted the Raja who wanted to perform the sacrifice and was stronger. So, they accepted these Rajas from whose areas these horses are passing, right? The horse is passing, so they are accepting the suzerainty of the Raja, right? These Rajas were then invited to the sacrifice, right? All the Rajas who have accepted the sacrifice, which was performed by specially trained priests. See, now there are the priests who are specially trained in these sacrifices, right? Who were rewarded with gifts also. The Raja, now who organized the sacrifice, he was recognized as being very powerful, right? And all those who came, they also brought some gifts for the Raja. So this Raja has now been recognized as being the very powerful Raja. Now, so this is how he gained the respect. Now, the Raja was a central figure in these rituals, right? And then he often had a special seat, a throne and a tiger skin. See, all the things have been mentioned very clearly, and this is why NCERT is very important, because it will connect everything, right? From chapter 1 to chapter 5, you will see a continuity, right? Now, his charioteer, who was his companion in the battlefield and witnessed his exploits, chanted tales of his glory. Okay, his relatives, especially his wife, would perform variety of minor rituals. So, how many people are participating? Raja is participating, his wife is also participating. So, some rituals, and his sons are also participating, right? Now, the other Rajas who are coming in the sacrifice, right? The Rajas were simply spectators. The other Rajas who have accepted the Raja's suzerainty, right? Who had to sit and watch the performance. So they were sitting and watching the performance. Priests performed the rituals, including the sprinkling of sacred water on the king. So this was also an exercise, sprinkling of sacred water on the king. The ordinary people, see, what is the very important information which has been given, that what is the meaning of Vish or Vaishya? Chapter 4 also we had this meaning, what is Vish, what is Vaishya. Now chapter 5 also it is telling that ordinary people were called as Vish or Vaishya, right? Also brought gifts. So now the other Rajas who have accepted the suzerainty, they are also bringing gifts, and the ordinary people are also coming and bringing the gift for Raja. However, some people, such as those who were regarded as Shudras by the priest, were excluded from many rituals. So what is happening? Okay, now discrimination, right? Society segregation we see, social segregation. Shudras is a category, right, by the priests. So they were regarded as Shudras. There was a certain section of society which were regarded as Shudras, and they were excluded from many rituals. So inequality, right, is rising now. Okay. Next is what? Varnas. So with the mention of Shudras, there is this mention of Varna, right? Varnas are what? There were 4 categories, 4 social categories are there, and namely Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Now Kshatriya, okay. Brahmins were expected to study. It is clearly telling us that what is the role and function of Brahmin, Kshatriya, Shudra and Vaishya. So Brahmins were basically what? They were studying, right? Expected to study and then teach. And next is what? So Brahmins were also performing sacrifices and receiving gifts. So this was also the case, right? Next is Kshatriya. Kshatriya, what is the duty that has been assigned to Kshatriya? And we are talking about later Vedic age. Vedic age we have already discussed. So later Vedic age, Kshatriyas are doing what? Fighting battles and then protecting people. Next is what? Vaishya. What is the duty of Vaishya? Farmers, herders and traders. So these section of society who were herding, farming and trading, they were called as Vaishya. Next is Shudra. Shudras were expected to serve the other 3 groups, right? So these were the Shudras who were expected to serve the other 3. So Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So these Shudras will serve the other three groups of the people, right? Now about Janpad. What is a Janpad? Okay. See, clearly they have defined what is Janpad. The word Janpada literally means the land where the Jana set its foot and settled down. So this is the meaning of Janpada, right? Where Jana would settle its foot and settle down, right? Sit its foot and settle down. Rajas who performed these big sacrifices, they were now Rajas of Janpadas. So first process is what? They are doing what? They are performing sacrifices. Second step is what? Now, because of the performance of the sacrifice, these Rajas are now called as Rajas of Janpadas, right? Rajas of Janpadas. Now they are gaining the strength, right? Okay, now we know the meaning of Janpad also, right? Simply UPSC can ask this question, what is Janpad, right? What is the meaning of Janpad? Archaeologists excavated a number of settlements in these Janpadas, and the number of settlements, the name have been given, which is Purana Kila in Delhi, Hastinapur, Atranji Kheda, means these three sites belong to Mahajanpada or later Vedic period, okay, and these have been excavated, and this is how we form history, we construct the history. Eta, okay. Now they found that people lived in huts and kept cattle as well as other animals. Simple question that can be made on the later Vedic people is that what they used to do, right? Their houses, were they made of bricks, burnt bricks, or they were living in huts, right? Clearly it has been mentioned, the comparison you can make. They also grew a variety of crops. It is also mentioned rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame and mustard. Very, very important information, right? What crops were they cultivating, growing, right? Next is what? So this is what? This is a painted grey ware plates and bowls were used, right? This is a bowl. And what was the kind of painted grey ware culture? This period is also known as painted grey ware culture because we find this kind of plates, bowls, pottery, right? These are extremely fine to touch with a nice smooth surface, and on special occasions, these plates or bowls, they were used on special occasions for important people to serve food, and later Vedic age period, painted grey wares were used, right? Next is, we also find earthen pots, right? Earthen pots are also there. Some of these were grey in color, others were red. Very, very important information that color was grey or red. One special type of pottery is known as PGW. Remember this point, this was asked in UPSC. This has been asked related to later Vedic age, that what kind of ware they were using, right? Painted grey ware. One special type of pottery that they were using. So painted grey ware it is. As is obvious from the name, these grey pots had painted designs and they usually had simple lines and geometric patterns. So it is defining this also about the characteristic of the pottery, right? Next is Mahajanpada. About 2500 years ago, some Janpadas became more important than others. Janpadas were what? Where people settled down, right? And there were many Janpadas, number of Janpadas were there, but what happened with time? These Rajas who were getting power, right, who were above other small chiefs or Rajas, so they were doing what? Merging the other Janpadas under them, right? And then these Janpadas, they transformed into what? Mahajanpadas, right? So Janpadas are getting transformed into Mahajanpadas by the important Rajas, right? So these Janpadas became more important than others, and then they were known as Mahajanpadas. Some of these are shown on map, very, very important map, right? And then what is the special feature? These Mahajanpadas will be having a capital city, and they will be fortified, right, to provide the strength or protection. Fortification is what? This is your area. So you will fortify this area, right? Make a wall. Okay. This means that huge walls of wood, brick or stone were built around the time. right? So that is why this is how they were protected. Forts were probably built because people were afraid of attacks from other kings, right? So this was the reason of their making the forts or do the fortification. This was the reason, right? To protect their people. Why? To protect their people, right? See Kuru, Hastinapur excavated site, Panchal is there, Koshala is there, Vaishali, Magad, Anga, right? These are and Avanti is also there, right? So see, Magad will be rising. We see that the first empire, right, will be emerging later Vedic period after the establishment of the Magad empire, and Magad will be emerging as the first empire of India, right? Okay. Now, protection was one of the reason that these Rajas were making what? Fortifying the city. It is also likely that some rulers wanted to show how rich and powerful they were, right? By building these huge structures, really large, tall and impressive walls around their cities. Also in this way, the land and people living inside the fortified area could be controlled more easily by the people, right? So what they were doing, they were not only protecting but also the people living inside, they were able to control more easily these people, right? Building huge walls required a great deal of planning, right? Thousands if not lakhs of bricks or stones had to be prepared, right? So this is how they were preparing. Many people, labor, bricks, right? So there was a pattern that they were following. Next is what? The new Rajas. Now what is happening? See. Okay. The new Rajas now began maintaining armies also. Very important it is that now army, for the first time ever, we are hearing about the armies. Rajas are now maintaining armies. Means what? Regular army, standing army concept, right? So this can be asked in UPSC examination that for the first time Rajas used to maintain standing army during which age? What will be your answer? It is later Vedic times, right? During the Mahajanpadas. So maintaining, they started maintaining army, and now see, very important concept it is, when there is what? Demand, there is supply. So maintaining an army needs what? Resources. Resources in terms of what? These people who are being employed to fight for the territory or the area, they will be requiring food, they will be requiring money, salary, right? So now taxes, voluntary, not voluntary, but mandatory taxes will be getting collected, right? So tax system will be evolving now, okay? Next is what? Soldiers were paid regular salaries. See, with the concept of emergence of standing army, the salary system will also evolve, and what will happen? These will be maintained throughout the year. This standing army concept is what? They are being maintained, employed throughout the year, right? Some payments will probably made using punched mark coins. So very important characteristic related to later Vedic period or Mahajanpadas is what? First is, what kind of pottery they were using? Painted grayware. Second thing, they were using punched marked coins, right? So these were the coins that they were using, punched mark coins. And then next is what? Taxes. Now very important about the taxes. What was the kind of taxes that they were collecting, right? Okay. Taxes. As the rulers of Mahajanpadas were building huge forts, see, it is also telling us about the demand, right? Demand and supply. So because they were doing so many activities, they needed resources, right? Resources in form of what? Agricultural produce. Resources in form of what? Money, punch mark coins, right? So building forts, maintaining big armies, they needed more resources. So everything is dependent on resources. Even now we are dependent on resources, right? And they needed officials to collect this. So with standing army, we need what? Salary, we need what? Resources, we need what? Officers also. So this is how administration evolved, right? Clear and simple. Instead of depending on occasional gifts brought by people, as in the case of the Rajas of Janpadas, they started collecting regular taxes. Very important information Now regular army concept is there, regular taxes concept is there. Okay, remember these points because these are asked, because this is the starting of the administration chapter of Indian history, right? Next is what? Taxes on crops. Taxes on craftsmen. See, these were the taxes that they started collecting regularly on crops, on crafts. Persons, herders also paid taxes, and animal produce. What kind of taxes were herders paying? As animal and animal produce, right? Taxes on goods through trade. Hunters and gatherers had to provide forest produce to the Raja. So, any kind of contribution by the people, different sections, because there were different professions of people. So, in their capacity, they were paying the taxes to Raja, right, in cash or kind. Now, what do you think would have been provided by hunters and gatherers? So, see, forest produce, right, the things that they have, only that thing they will be able to give, yes or no? Okay. Now, changes in agriculture. Changes in agriculture. What changes do we notice in agriculture? Very important changes. Two changes are there. Now, listen to this very carefully. Iron has been discovered, right? It has been started in use, right? People are using iron now. One was the growing use of iron plowshares. Very important. It provided strength. Iron is what? Strong. So, it started providing strength to people, the activities that people were doing. This meant that heavy clay soil could be turned over better than with a wooden plowshare, right? So, easy movement and more work, right? Less time, more work, so that more grain could be produced. So, less time, more work and more productivity. Right? This is the concept. Second most important thing. First most important thing is what? Iron plowshare. People were using iron plowshare. And second most important thing is people began transplanting paddy. Now, system of agriculture also changed. They were transplanting paddy instead of scattering seeds on the ground. Right? What they were doing? Plants would sprout, saplings were grown and then planted in the field. Right? This led to increased production. Now, they are doing what? They are doing it in a very proper way, that they are planting the sprout, then saplings were grown and then planted in the fields. And with this activity, there was an increase in productivity, production. Right? Now, we will take a closer look at Magad. Magad is very important. It emerged as one of the strongest Mahajanpad, right, and it led to the emergence of first empire, right. Okay, Magad, we know the location of Magad, right? Magad is here, right, eastern India. Okay, now Magad became the most important Mahajanpada in about 200 years ago, right. What do you want me to repeat? Okay. What do you want me to repeat? Motivation. What's your name? Which part you want me to repeat? I am going too fast. Okay. Which part do you want me to repeat? Can you tell me? Okay, so Magad, right? Magad, I am waiting for your reply, okay? Okay, Magad, most important Mahajanpad which emerged is Magad about 200 years, right? Many rivers such as Ganga and Son, see, it is telling that Magad had rivers like Ganga, second is Son, right? So, what it did? Ganga and Son flowed through Magad. This was important. Now rivers, earlier rivers, now also rivers are providing many things, right? But earlier rivers were also used for transportation, right? One of the best method of transportation, water supply is making the land fertile, right? So this is what why river is important. Parts of Magad were forested, right? And then elephants which lived in the forest could be captured. So see why Magad emerged as the strongest. So reasons are being given that Magad had iron. Second thing, Magad had rivers, Magad had forest. From forest they were getting timber. Magad had elephants also, which will be providing strength to the army. Yes or no? So these are the reasons why Magad emerged as the strongest, most important Mahajanpada, right? Okay. So elephants which lived in the forest, they could be captured and trained for war, right? This is telling us, and this is how they got an advantage over others, right? And this is how they emerged the strongest. Now forest also provided wood for building houses. See, forest was providing wood for building houses, right? And other things. Now carts also, chariots also. Besides, there were iron ore mines in the region, right? That could be tapped to make strong tools and weapons, right? Tools and weapons because of the iron, right? Iron mines, they had iron mines. Next is Magad had two powerful rulers. Next most important thing, see, rise of Magad was because of first resources. Resources as in what? Iron was there, timber was there, rivers were there, right? Second thing, Magad had two very powerful rulers. What are the names? Bimbisar and Ajat Sattu, and we also call him Ajat Shatru, right? Who all students are there? Can you type yes, hello if I am audible? Is there any problem? If there is no problem, type okay. If there is a problem, type not okay. Okay. I am waiting for your reply. Who all are there? Okay. Magad, two powerful rulers are Ajat Shatru and Bimbisar. Now, they used all possible means to conquer other Mahajanpadas. As skillful diplomats they were very strong personality, right? So they were using every method to conquer the other Mahajanpadas, right? Okay. Hi Devlina, how are you? Okay. Why others are not replying? Mahapadmananda was another important ruler. So first is Bimbisar, second is Ajatshutru, third is Mahapadmananda. Nandas. During his time, during Mahapadmananda, Alexander the Great was coming to conquer India, but he could not because his army got what? Afraid of the Nanda army, right? And then he extended his control to the northwest part of subcontinent. Rajgriha was the capital in Bihar, and then the capital was shifted to Magad. Very important information has been given is what? Army was very strong. Second, Rajgriha capital was the first capital, and after some time what happened? Patna became the, Patliputra became the second capital, right? Okay, now more than 2300 years ago, a ruler named Alexander, see, they have mentioned Alexander, that he wanted to conquer the world. He wanted to become world conqueror, right? Of course, he could not conquer the world, but he came to Indian subcontinent, reaching up to banks of Beas, right? Northwest part of India. He reached up to bank of Beas. Now, when he wanted to march further eastwards, what happened? His soldiers refused. They were scared, frightened, as they heard that rulers of India had vast armies, right, of foot soldiers, chariots and elephants. So, because of the vast army employed by the rulers of Magad, right? Okay, in what ways these armies differed from the armies that were described in Rig Veda? This is the question that can be asked in UPSC also, right? So, you should try to find the answer because I have clearly mentioned in the video. Okay, closer look, Vajji. So, Vajji, very important. It was also a powerful kingdom, right? And it was a republic. Very, very important. Right? Vajji with its capital at Vaishali. What is the capital of Magad? Tell me the names of two capital. इतनी ज़्यादा होके okay. चलो let's concentrate on studies. Okay. चलो Vajji. Okay. What? Tell me. Okay. Now let's talk about some useful thing. Tell me about the capital of Magad. What were the two capitals were there of Magad? Tell me the names of the capitals. Okay. Next is Vajji. What is Vajji? Vajji is a powerful kingdom. Second important thing is Vajji. Capital is Vaishali, Bihar. It was under different form of government known as Gana or Sangha. Very, very important. This question can be asked directly, right? So Gana and Sangha, this was the form of the nature of Vajji. In Gana or Sangh, what happened? What was the nature of administration? So there were not one but many rulers, right? Many rulers, and each was known as a Raja. Students, reply to my answer. What was the capital of Magad? Right? Okay, Gana and Sangha. So many people, many rulers were ruling this Gana or Sangha, which was Vajji, right? Which is Vajji. And each one was known as Raja. Now, rituals were performed by Rajas together. So they are showing what? Diversity and unity in diversity, right? So there is this unity between these Rajas. They are doing everything together. They also met in assemblies, decided what had to be done and how. So there were proper assemblies, right? And they were discussing everything. Every important decision used to happen in this assembly, used to be taken into this assembly through discussion and debate, D&D. Right? Discussion and debate was a very important method applied by them. For example, if they were attacked by an enemy, they met to discuss what should be done, right? To meet the threat, what solution should be provided to protect our people. Now, very important thing, women, dasas and kamakaras could not participate in these assemblies. Very, very important, right? So these assemblies, these women, dasas and kamakaras were not participating in the assembly. Very important, and this has been asked in UPSC repetitively, and again it can be asked. Okay. What should I repeat? Motivation. Would you please tell me the topic? What should I repeat? I'm waiting. I was waiting for your reply, but you did not reply. Which topic should I repeat? Tell me. Okay. Now. So see, what is the nature of Vajji? Characteristic of Vajji, right? They are doing what? Discussion and debate, and they are finding the solution. There are not one ruler. There is no one ruler, but many rulers are there, right? So this is the information related to Vajji. Now, an account has been given. Account of what? Right? Okay. This is an account of Vajjis from the Digh Nikaya. Digh Nikaya is related to Buddhism. It is a Buddhist book, right? Okay. Okay. Vajji. This is an account of Vajjis from Digh Nikaya, right? A famous Buddhist book which contains some of the speeches of Buddha. So Digh Nikaya, one more information, Digh Nikaya is a Buddhist book, and this was asked in UPSC examination. These were written down 2300 years ago. Now what has been written related to Ajatshatu and Vajji, because Ajatshatu was from Magad and Vajji is also a Mahajanpad, and Ajatshatu wanted to conquer Vajji, but he was not able to, right? And then he needed help. Ajatshatu wanted to attack the Vajji. He sent his minister called Vasakara to Buddha to get his advice on the matter. What kind of advice? To conquer Vajji, right? The Buddha. Then he sent his minister, right? Then Buddha asked that minister that tell me whether the Vajjis met frequently in full assemblies. So he heard. Yes. Okay. So minister told him, yes, they are meeting in assemblies, they are having discussion and debate, and then they are taking the decision. So when Buddha heard about this, he replied that Vajjis would continue to prosper as long as these conditions are fulfilled. Okay. First is what? They held full and frequent public assemblies, right? Second, they met and acted together. Third, they followed established rulers and they followed established rules, and then they respected, supported and listened to elders. So this is how Buddha told Ajatasattu that you will not be able to conquer Vajji until and unless these things are happening, right? And it took around 15 to 16 years for Ajatasattu to conquer Vajji. Finally, he was able to, but it took several years for him, right? So this is the story of Vajji, Magad, and the ambition of Ajatasattu, right? Now keywords. What are the important words that we have learned today, right? Hello students who all are there, can you say hi? Everyone, 8 people are there, can you say hi? Can you type yes? Okay. So what are the keywords that we have learned today? First is Raja. See, the nature will be changing. In our last video, we have covered Rig Vedic times, now later Vedic times, right? So what is the nature of Raja in Rig Veda and later Vedic ages? You have to do this comparison. This is your homework, right? Go and read about it and then write also. Next is Ashwamedh. What is Ashwamedh? It is one of our sacrifice, right? That Rajas used to perform to gain strength, to gain popularity among other Rajas, right? And then these Rajas of the Janpadas, they were what? They made Mahajanpadas, right? Because other Rajas accepted their suzerainty, right? Next is what? Varna system, right? There were 4 Varnas. There were 4 Varnas: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, right? And their profession is also mentioned. Now what is Janpad? So we all know Janpad is what? Where Jana set its foot and then settle down. So that was called Janpad, and then these Janpad got transformed into Mahajanpad. Now there is this fortification also, right? What is fortification? So big walls were being made. Army system was there, regular army. Because of regular army, there was this evolution of regular taxes also, right? And then transplantation is there, and then Gana and Sangha emerged, right? Republic emerged. So this is related to chapter 5 of class 6 history NCERT, right? Now see, Vajji women. Next condition is what? Vajji women were not held by force or captured. So there is this freedom, right? Actually Buddha is doing what? He is telling everyone that if freedom is being enjoyed by people, there is this unity, there is this respect for elders, so you will prosper, right? Chaityas were maintained in both towns and villages. Wise saints who followed different beliefs were respected and allowed to enter and leave the country freely. These are the things that Buddha told to the minister, right? Okay. Now, Rajas of powerful kingdoms tried to conquer the Sanghas. Same story, right? I told you that these Rajas, they tried to what? Conquer the Ganas, the Sanghas, right? These lasted for a very long time till about 100 years ago, when the last of the Gana or Sangha was conquered by the Gupta rulers, right? So last Gana or Sangha was conquered by Gupta rulers, and this is how this Gana Sangha system ended. This is telling us about that, okay? So this is the end of the chapter. There are these questions, right? True and false, that Rajas who led the Ashwamedha horse passed through their lands were invited to the sacrifice. So you should do this small activity also, so that you can revise the topics that you have studied, okay? Now we'll meet you in the next video with the next chapter, and you can like, share and subscribe our channel and follow our channel for more such videos. Thank you.